Welcome back to the Quicklines section of the weekly news roundup, where we're going to be talking, among other things, about, what is it one? Oh, yes, we are deflocking America. How could I possibly forget about that? We were having a really hilarious job with AI-generated images on that last night. It was great. If you're not in the supporter hangouts, man, it is kind of fun. Go there and see what the AI comes up with images, and we got bald eagles carrying cameras, dude. This is great. Wait until you see the thumbnail for this when it actually comes out. But we'll actually get to that. That'll be our second story this week. That is, by the way, what story, where it's covered in the news is totally random. Some people are like, "Yo, did it last?" And I used to intentionally do it last. Now I put everything together and I select which is the best article for the title, but I don't necessarily move the articles around. Today we're just doing a quick update first. We did tell you when New York governor pushed a law to allow robotaxis everywhere in New York except for New York City. And based on a tremendous amount of pushback, she has actually pulled this proposal. So this doesn't ban robotaxis in the state of New York. It just means that each city has to work individually with each one of the robotaxi companies for specific authorization in that city. So it adds a lot of regulatory burden to the companies pushing the self-driving death machines. Or should we say self-driving Filipino death machines? As we actually did find out that Waymo cars do have Filipino people constantly watching them to get them out of sticky situations. If that doesn't terrify you, I don't know what should. That was actually part of congressional testimony last week or 2 weeks ago. All right. Basically, it doesn't ban it. So what Kathy Hochul's law was going to do is allow any of these cars to operate anywhere in the state of New York except for New York City. New York City would have its own authority over which ones go on the street and how that looks. But after a lot of pushback from regulators, legislators, and everybody but the self-driving car companies, she decided to pull this. So not banning them, just saying that each company would have to work directly with each individual city inside of the state of New York in order to get the self-driving cars running. So, of course, the car companies weren't mad about that. Everybody else was kind of happy about that. And, that's kind of the case. This is actually our feature story here is Americans are destroying flock surveillance cameras. I cannot condone any form of violence against these cameras, but I will laugh when I hear it. Reports from, this is actually from Brian Merchant, writing for Blood and the Machine, reports people across the United States are dismantling and destroying flock surveillance cameras amid rising public anger, and the license plate readers aid U.S. immigration authorities and deportations. It has faced criticism for allowing federal authorities to access its massive network of nationwide license plate readers and databases, and Flock claims it doesn't share data. It doesn't share data with ICE directly, but reports show that local police have shared their own access to flock cameras and its databases with federal authorities. So Merchant reports instances of broken and smashed flock cameras in La Mesa, California, just weeks after the city council approved the continuation of the flock cameras deployed in the city, despite a clear majority of attendees favoring their shutdown. Of course, what wasn't mentioned here in the article specifically is there's a couple places like Stoughton, Virginia, for example. Their chief just pulled the whole plug on the whole program and said, nope, we're not doing it, and even exposed the emails that they were sending him to try and convince him to use their system. Another city we covered, I think, last week in California, shut them all down immediately, waiting for a whole city council hearing, and the police chief is in favor of completely removing them because of the dishonesty of the company itself. So there's a lot of issues. Now, I will reiterate here that destroying these cameras is a crime. You should not do that. But some people are okay with that in the terms of civil disobedience. That has always been a case with civil disobedience. And I'm not going to say in any way, shape, or form you should do that. You should definitely fight legislatively. If Louis Rossmann and friends can get a giant city like Austin to rethink this thing, I think that we all, with enough pushback, can do this. And if you are interested in taking those, Louis Rossmann's channel has had some recommendations. I think they're working on a site. I don't know if it's actually released yet, but they're working on a site that will effectively populate every city council meeting in the United States, which is discussing flock cameras, and alert you to them so you can go and speak or get more information about what's going on. And there's also Deflock. So if you are driving around and you want to know how to avoid these cameras, there is Deflock, which is a map of flock cameras that you can use to avoid them. So that is definitely, it is encouraging to me right now. And I think it kind of came on the heels of what we hear with Flock. And this is the thing that the negative publicity on what ICE is doing is leading people to hate Flock. I'm good with that. That's fine. Yeah, I think the people here illegally should be deported, but we should not be using mass surveillance to find them. Okay, we should stumble upon them. That is what we should do. We should not be using mass surveillance to do that, because there's too much risk of catching up private citizens who have no business being caught up in this nonsense. And then, of course, the Ring Super Bowl ad brought a lot of awareness to it. And we're seeing right now a really big turn in privacy. And it's encouraging for me because I have been talking about this stuff for a decade on this channel. And now I'm seeing mainstream channels that just talk about other weird random things finally addressing this kind of stuff. And I've been leaving comments in as many of those channels I can find, say, hey, I've been talking about this for a decade. If you want to talk more, reach out to me. I haven't had anybody reach out to me yet, but I have been leaving those comments in any video I can find talk about these cameras, because these are damaging. There are too many downsides to these. There's not enough upsides, and frankly, the people behind these cameras are creepy as all get out. So we should not have these. Moving on to our next story, Microsoft has a critical security issue in Notepad. Okay, Notepad should be the simplest program in the world. Give me a GUI that I can write text on. There's nothing complicated. Of course, they want to add Copilot. Then they want to add the, basically rely on the Windows key, which, the Windows Store key, which prevented several people from opening Notepad and the terminal a couple weeks ago. Sorry, Notepad is not authorized to run. It's not in your Microsoft Store account. What? It should be a simple exe file that needs nothing else to run. But no, it was pinging itself through the store, and a misconfiguration broke that store connection. And then, of course, now you have the AI nonsense. Well, this is actually related to the Markdown nonsense, which is utterly ridiculously stupid. Okay, let me explain this. I know I haven't used Windows in a while, but see, all Windows programs used to come with two things to write text: WordPad and Notepad. Then they got rid of WordPad. Like, we don't need WordPad. We have Notepad. And then they started messing with Notepad, trying to make it WordPad. Notepad's entire purpose is to have completely unformatted text. WordPad could always do RTFs and a little bit of light formatting and things like that. Microsoft, leave Notepad alone. No AI, no Markdown, no Windows Store check, just a simple exe file that does nothing but you click the thing and it opens. There's no reason to have a high critical security issue found in Notepad. Bring back WordPad and add all your Markdown crap to that, because that's what WordPad was for. What is going on here, all right? So this is all because, everybody's trying to use Markdown now. Oh, we're going to have Markdown and no, keep Markdown out of Notepad. Notepad should be completely raw, unprocessed text. That is it. That is it. Create something else for Markdown, because there's a lot of things, like I was using this example. If I were to go on and I have a client that says, hey, I need to add an analytics pixel on my website. Well, I've traditionally said, hey, copy it directly from there, paste it into Notepad, and send me that text file. Because if you paste it anywhere else, it'd be like, paste it in Word. That's what he must have meant. No, Word will see that and try and format it. WordPad would see that and try and format it. Notepad is completely unformatted. If you have all of this Markdown crap in there and you paste certain code in there, it's going to try and format it. And that's going to break it on your website. Oh, Lord, this is nonsense. This is Microsoft being about as stupid as one can get. But what do we want from salty Nutella? Oh, Lordy Microsoft, you've got some problems. All right, this is an interesting one. Fake Zoom meeting update silently installs a rogue version of a monitoring tool. Okay, now, one is really useful. It's like, why do we talk about this type of thing? This has been going on forever. No, this is something new. This is something terrifying. This is an update, so it's basically lands on a malware. It's either a malicious link or it is a malvertising campaign. You land on this system, and then what ends up happening is that the fake Zoom meeting silently installs a commercial application. Now, there's an update here, which was updated just yesterday. It must have been after I read the article. So Terrament has stated is not affiliated with the threat actors described and did not authorize the deployment. Okay, no crap, Sherlock. Derp. Yeah, yes, we supply key logging software for corporate environments and for hackers. No kidding. All right. Okay, so what this does is it packages a update to your Zoom, which reinstalls over your Zoom, installing Zoom and an application called Terramind, which is a legitimate corporate key logging software that is installed on people's computers. So if you go into work and you're like, well, your computers are all monitored and we monitor for efficiency, all that kind of stuff we've done videos about before that should also be completely banished, where it's like, they assume that if you're not sitting there perpetually typing away at your computer, you're not working, Never mind the time you sit back, hold a notebook in your hand and try and write down notes because you're trying to process something. You're not being productive trying to process work. You're only productive if you're over here tinkering around on your computer. All right. But this is one of these corporate software that can check if it'll take your screenshots. It will record your keystrokes. It basically records everything you're doing. It hears you, it sees your screen, and it logs everything you do on your computer, on your keyboard. Okay. So it is an entire spyware platform. Now, in corporate America, where they say this is what we do in our job, it's legal to use this thing. And in the typical install of this application from Terramind, there is an icon that tells you it's active and what it's doing, and you can review some of the information it has. But Terramind also has a silent mode that you can install for whatever reason you would install this, but it basically installs and runs secretly that you don't know it's running and you can't see what it's collecting. So I don't know why it has that secret mode, but it does. And that's the mode that this fake Zoom malware installs. And so you get a legitimate corporate software and a legitimate Zoom package bundled together. But of course, the Terramind is configured to send all the screenshots, all your camera, all your microphone, all your keystrokes to their command and control center, which is with the disposal of the hacker. So there you have it, folks. There you have it. This gets around a lot of malware because it's two signed valid applications. And then, of course, Terramind gives us, we are not affiliated with the threat actors. No kidding. I don't think you needed to tell us that. I mean, actually, the fact you did tell us that makes me suspicious of you. We have nothing to do with it. Sure you don't. Sure you don't. All right. So, of course, you get into the fake meeting and it says, hey, you need an update. And then this countdown timer comes up, which you're kind of expecting. And then the popover takes up and automatically installs the version. And now you have a keylogger installed through a legitimate corporate application with an actual signing key. The Terramind sells a dedicated stealth mode deployment specifically designed to the agent, runs with no visible presence, no icon on the taskbar, no entry to the system tray, and no trace of a list of applications installed. That makes me wonder, did they really not know about it? What is the application for a complete stealth mode version of this software that in the United States you are required to tell people it's running? What is the purpose of the stealth mode? Can we get another comment from Terramind and ask them what is the purpose of their stealth mode? Is it to spy on your wife? Is this sold to, never mind. I don't want to get there. Sold to some countries that really, the men really like to watch their women. I don't know. Yeah. Attackers did not write custom malware. They deployed professionally developed commercial product that is designed to run reliably and persistently through restarts. Makes it more durable than many traditional malware skins. I don't want want to turn off my computer and go home now. There's a quiet but growing trend of attackers reaching for legitimate commercial software rather than building their own. Yeah, it's not as easy to flag. All right, there you go. This one goes without saying, but let's go ahead and say it. AI-generated passwords are a security risk. Okay, AI does not make things up. AI is not capable of making things up. AI is a model specifically designed to reliably predict the next thing in a row, which makes it the antithesis of what you would use to create a strong password. In fact, AI cybersecurity firm Irregular tested ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini and found that the passwords they generate are highly predictable and not truly random. When they tested Claude, 50 prompts produced just 23 unique passwords. One string appeared 10 times while many others shared the same structure. I mean, this is the equivalent of going in and saying, hey, ChatGPT, I need a good password for this new account. And ChatGPT responds, the most commonly used password is password 123. Thanks, ChatGPT. Right? But some moron out there is going to do it because ChatGPT said to. All right. AI chatbots are trained to provide answers based on what they've learned. They are good at predicting what comes next based on what they've already have, not inventing something completely new, which is why 50 prompts gives 23 passwords. LLMs work by predicting the most likely next token, which is the exact opposite of what a secure password generation requires. Uniform, unpredictable, and randomness. So if you need this, of course, KeePass XC, what I use as a password manager, does have a random password generator in it. So you can always use that. And what those do is those will run a series of hashes, and it is truly randomized. So that's actually the way you would really want to run it if you're looking for a password. Do not use AI to generate a strong password. You will not get a strong password. All right, Google says its AI systems have helped deter Play Store malware. So their evidence here is that their AI systems... This is an interesting one. Like, you could take the same exact set of data and argue it a couple different ways. One way you could argue this. So the raw facts are that in 2023, they had 2.28 million malicious, malicious apps. 2024, it was 2.36 million malicious apps. In 2025, it was 1.75 million malicious apps. So that's how many they caught. All right. So of course we know that a lot of malicious apps still get through. Now, the fact pattern says, hey, the number of apps we're catching is going down. So what they're saying is this is because our AI is able to detect these and people are not attempting to use upload malicious AI on our system, even though we know malicious AI has gotten through their system. So is it really that the AI is deterring people, or is it that the AI is missing a lot of apps? There's a number of ways you could spin this article and have the same set of data. So we don't know. Are people being terrified of installing new malware? Or is Google not catching the malware they're doing? Or are these brand new companies releasing perfectly good malware because they know that Google only looks at them closely the first time around? And in about 5 years or so, we're going to have a whole lot of zombie malware turning on and going, hungry for data brains, right? Give me your ID, You're going to get, in 5 years, the thing's going to be like, you'll occasionally have to have random pop-ups, show your ID to the screen to make sure it's still you, right? Kind of like on Windows Hello, right? On Windows, I think it's Recall, as you're playing around in Recall, every now and again, you will have to re-authenticate yourself. Yeah, how long before that happens? The law passed and you have to re-authenticate your ID every single time. You got to hold up your ID. So now a malicious app that has been perfectly fine for 5 years automatically turns on and gives you a prompt. Hey, we need your ID. Here it is. And now the scammers are collecting IDs and selling them on the dark web. So there you go. So Google says it has banned more than 80,000 developer accounts in 2025 that it tried to push these bad type back. The figure also down from 158 in 2024 and 333,000 in 2023. So either they are not collecting them or malicious actors are not doing malicious apps yet because they're waiting for update cycles, or they have actually been scared away. This is not all just, hey, we deployed AI and people are scared to upload malware anymore. I have a sneaky suspicion that's not the thing. You don't solve malware problems that easily, okay? So we just need to wait a few years and see what happens. But same fact pattern, different conclusions of data, okay? So, I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, who's excited for Ladybird? Who's excited for Ladybird now that they're just porting all the C++ code to Rust using AI? Now, I did read this. I'm a little bit less frightened by this after reading not only the article here from It's Foss, but they actually linked to the developer's blog as well. And I read that blog post. So the cold hard facts on this one, of course, the Ladybird browser, if you've not heard of this yet, this is going to be a true third choice because every single web browser we have right now is either based on Chromium or Firefox or I guess WebKit with Apple, but that applies only to the Apple ecosystem. So every browser you use is either Chromium or Firefox. All right. And that's a problem. So Ladybird is going to be a completely different web browser engine, totally different. They are set for an alpha release sometime this year for Linux and Mac. Sorry, Windows users, you suck. No, I'm kidding. No, they are targeting 2026 for Linux and Mac though. All right. No word on exactly when the Windows alpha will be out yet. Probably after that. It's just easier to get for these two going first. And frankly, Linux users are probably the people most excited to see Ladybird come out. So there's that. So, of course, since everybody's like C++ bad these days, now everyone's like Rust. And a whole cult seems to have jumped up from that, right? So now they are porting the C++ code to Rust, and they're doing it with AI, and they did, I think it was like 25,000 lines of code in 2 weeks. Good feelings gone. So it's not as bad as all that though, because this is done. I think this is done in the best way you can do it, where it's still the main developer. He's still checking everything, and he's actually checking hundreds, even thousands of tests with each line of code. And so he is doing it right. Effectively, what they're looking at is they're looking for a better memory-safe language than C++. So Rust still has memory issues as well, like every programming language does. It's just easier to deal with them. And so they wanted to eventually move away from C++. So they looked at Swift, but it doesn't work well with C++. And it would also break Apple ecosystem. Rust was evaluated and rejected because it did not play well with C++ style programming, object-oriented programming, which the platform relies on. However, that has apparently gotten better in recent years, and so the lead developer looked at this and determined that Rust was probably the best way, especially since both Firefox and the Chromium engine are both also using Rust with C++ as a core. And that's effectively what Ladybird's doing. C++ is the core with various components written in Rust. And so rather than writing all the Rust code from scratch, he used Claude Code and Codec to do the heavy lifting. But he made it clear that there was a lot of human oversight involved with every decision about what to port and in what order, and how the Rust code should be structured coming from him. So apparently he did do it right, so that's a little bit less concerning. But there's the fact that you took Ladybird and ran it through AI for Rust. That just has all the markings of everything that hasn't worked well lately. He did do a bunch of tests with it and actually found zero regressions and problems. And so hopefully it's going to take. But hey, the fact that the thing hasn't been released at all, even in C, will it mean much? No. I am still going to have a look at Ladybird as soon as it is out, and I'm going to be evaluating it quite closely. As soon as we see that alpha drop, I'm going to be looking at it. So there's that. And then, of course, we have, there's a discussion about jailbreaking F-35s. Yeah, jet pilots. So the problem here is that the United States sells a lot of jets to a lot of different people. And there's been some breakdowns in some ally relationships, sometimes for good justifiable reasons, sometimes for not. And so effectively, though, some of these countries look at this F-35 and saying, hey, if U.S. is mad at us, can they just do a master kill switch? That would kind of suck. And so effectively, they open up the question about, right to repair and jailbreaking and right to run your own software on it. And it does turn out that they did find out that you can jailbreak your F-35. That says the Dutch State Secretary for Defense says that. So if, despite everything, you still want to upgrade, I'm going to say I should never say, but I will anyway. You can jailbreak the F-35 just like an iPhone, he says. No word if that's actually going to, go into some weird boot loop and the jet's going to start spinning around, maybe self-destruct. But the problem is that with the software that they have, and all of the software goes through an automated logistics information system, the ALIS, which is entirely controlled by the United States government. And so the challenge here is that any software update, any mission has to go through these things, which, U.S. can kind of control it, because guess what? The U.S. is not going to allow the F-35 to go through an attack protocol on its territories. Go figure. So U.S. has a reason to want to vendor lock the software, but the buyers of the jet says, yeah, we would kind of like to have our own software, and there's been a big fight about it right now. Right now, Israel is the only country to have successfully negotiated a deal giving it the right to install a domestically developed software onto its F-35s. So they can also operate outside. So Israel is the only place that has F-35s that can operate outside the ALIS system controlled by the United States government. So make of that whatever you want. Let the conspiracies brew. Let them brew. Brew, ha ha. All right. So the question is, of course, if somebody goes ahead and buys an F-35, should they be able to install whatever software they want on it and do with that jet what they want? Sure. Why not? Because I'm not a hypocrite. If I want to be able to control the software on my toaster, I want you to be able to control the software on your jet. It might end badly for me, but we're going to go with that theory anyway. Why not? All right. This is an interesting one. This is comes actually from a talk in China, and there's actually no real English translation, but the best we can understand, effectively what is happening here is that this CEO says many consumer electronics manufacturers will either go bankrupt or exit key product lines by the end of 2026 due to the AI memory crisis. So all this data center stuff, all these data chips being bought up, all of this kind of stuff going on right now is causing serious downstream detriment to our society because of the fact that the AI is causing all these chips to go massively high in price. In fact, I did see a report, I think as much as 35% of a new HP computer is all RAM right now, which is insane. But here's the thing. Everything in our brother now has microchips in it, processors, computers, and things like this. And so are companies going to simply go bankrupt? Or are they going to leave key lines? Now, we did, as we were talking about this article last night in our supporter hangout, we actually came up with a very good positive for this. Okay, if the TV manufacturers still want to sell TVs and they can't get memory chips, we might actually see a resurgence of dumb TVs, especially as analog trends are starting to come back, and a lot of people don't want a smart device. Now, many do, unfortunately, but there is a growing number of people that are concerned about the data collection on your televisions, which all requires all these memory chips. And you know what? You don't need those memory chips if you're just running a pass-through display monitor. And so maybe we might actually see a return of domestic dumb TVs. Oh, I would pay more for computer parts if I could have the option of dumb TVs. But that is an interesting argument that he is making. This is a CEO of one of the memory companies in China. Consumer electronics will see a large number of failures from the end of this year to 2026. Many system vendors will go bankrupt or exit product lines due to the lack of memory. Don't just all get Alzheimer's disease or something. Mobile phone production will be reduced by 200 to 250 million units. PC and TV production will be significantly reduced. This is interesting because, as I've said before, we are an overly consuming culture and society. And so if we could come up with the big problem we have is everything is the corporate bottom line, which is what is driving everything to be a subscription, and Apple hyping you up on selling your perfectly good phone so that you can buy a brand new one. All these types of things. The challenge is that if we get into a world where people are buying less phones, spending less on subscriptions, I think we would see a massive quality and life increase for all of the regular common folk. but all of the people with all the power and all the money will be throwing hissy fits. Economies could potentially collapse, but people may be happier as it does. I don't know. It's an interesting trend right now because with everything so focused on money, but as people lose their jobs, as things become more unaffordable, as all sorts of things happen from a number of different markets, then the challenge we have is that there's all this stuff, and if people will just stop buying things, it'll be good for your soul to not be so consumerized, but it'd be really bad for our economy as the stock market would tank and people would lose their life savings if they're all in the market. So I don't know what I'm advocating for here. I just think, hey, if we could get more dumb TVs, it might be worth the world burning. I don't know. Let me know if you guys think in the comments on that one. And then this developer creates an app to detect nearby smart glasses. So, of course, with this trend of smart glasses coming up, there's an independent developer moved after reading about the abuse of smart glasses to film people without their consent, decided to create an app to detect nearby smart glasses. It's called Nearby Glasses. You can grab it from the Play Store, but you can also sideload it from GitHub. Well, as long as your Android device still allows you to sideload anyway. Effectively, this scans for Bluetooth Low Energy and looks specifically for the type of data from the manufacturers linked to the smart glasses, especially Meta and the Meta Ray-Ban and Snap. Users install it from Google Play Store or GitHub and enable foreground scanning, start the scan, and then decide how to respond to alert reports. I actually installed this on my Graphene OS phone, and I'm pleased to report that on top of the mountain I was at last night, on the very top of that mountain, there was nobody around with smart glasses. So no creeper in the bushes staring in my van windows with smart glasses, according to my scanning app. Now, one of our supporters on the stream installed it on his Graphene OS phone as well, and immediately it detected the Meta, I think it was the Meta VR, one of the VR headsets, which that does say on the app that it would do that. Now, what I did find really hilarious about the app, and let me actually pull it up here so I can actually read it verbatim. When you go in the app, there's actually a warning. Harassing someone because you think they are wearing a covert surveillance device can be a criminal offense. It may be even more of a serious offense than using such a device. Please seek legal advice regarding your local laws on this matter. Do not harass anyone at all. So they give you that warning when you start the app up, okay, which is very interesting because it's like, okay, so you are telling me I can't confront somebody that's looking at me and recording me with smart glasses, but the guy with the smart glasses, he can record me without my knowledge or consent. Only now I have knowledge about it. So what does that mean? It's very interesting. Speaking about the project, he said, I consider it to be a tiny part of resistance against surveillance tech. There's actually another app, and I forget the name of that one. I have downloaded it, but I haven't actually installed it yet. It'll actually scan for Bluetooth trackers and everything else, and potentially even these as well. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to play around with that one a little bit. And, maybe when I re-enter society, I'll maybe turn those on and see what I see. So there are our quick lines for the night. Of course, we still have a couple of Sillyville articles to get to as well. So speaking of smart glasses, and first up in Sillyville, judge berates Mark Zuckerberg's team for wearing AI smart glasses in court. Of course, a whole bunch of Meta's executive team is being dragged in before courts in California and in New Mexico in order to have testimony about whether their platforms knowingly addicted kids to social media and knowingly placed them in harm's way. And so the judge, though, so the whole team shows up wearing Meta smart glasses. Now, this is a courtroom that is illegal to record in. Okay, just throw him in jail. Just don't even give him a warning. Excuse me, did you bring a recording device into our courtroom? I'm sentencing you to 30 days in jail. That's contempt of court. All right. Now, the judge actually did say the judge upbraided the Meta team and said, if you guys have recorded anything, you have to dispose of it or I will hold you in contempt. How dare you? Don't record. I would really like to see if this happens. But again, this is the problem, that justice is no longer blind. Mark Zuckerberg can walk in there and do whatever he wants in that courtroom because he's got a lot of money. And you know what? That is a corrupted justice system. There's not a lot of cameras in that courtroom. He showed up with cameras. Get out. Go to jail. maybe it might actually humble the robot if you send him to jail for a couple days for violating the court's rules about no cameras in the courtroom. So of course this is bad because Meta team is in court in Los Angeles to face allegations of the social media platforms have hurt children. So let's go in and record where we're not allowed to. How wonderful. Also onto the courtroom scene with AI. This is a fascinating story here. So this is actually a toy manufacturer that actually had one of their semis hijacked. And then all of their stolen toys ended up on Amazon, being sold by a number of different Amazon resellers. So I actually think, hey, bring Amazon in. Amazon is not doing enough to vet these people. I mean, just remember that Sillyville story from last week, where the Chinese company with the name, had the smoke alarms that would catch fire. Yeah. And you got to email the random gibberish email address for a refund. I'm sorry, Amazon, if you can't catch a problem with that, I think you need to be paying for all that. And then you know what, Amazon? You can go figure out how to get the money out of those guys. That's fine. But Amazon's like, no, we're just a marketplace. We don't care. So a whole truckload is like $1 million of toys is stolen from a truck and ends up on sale on Amazon. So the toy company verifies that all of these toys for sale on Amazon are actually their stolen toy shipment. And so they find a plethora of different defendants all doing this, and they take them all to court. And so this is from Flycatcher. So Flycatcher performed the toys, the test buys from the defendants and confirmed using aforementioned codes as to each defendant that the product being sold derived from the stolen shipments. So while there's multiple lawyers for various different companies, one company has already lost. This is Affable Avenue LLC. So what happened is his lawyer, Stephen Andrew Feldman, he showed up in court with an AI-generated briefing that 14 out of the 60 citations were complete hallucinations. And so the judge is saying, not in my courtroom, and he ruled in the case for the plaintiff and ruled that this attorney has to pay all legal fees. Now, it is unclear to me if that is all legal fees for all of these stolen shipment cases or just all legal fees for this. I actually think this would be for all of Flycatcher's legal fees for all of them. The reason I think that, and I was unsure yesterday, but the more I thought about this today, the reason I think this is because when you have these types of group defendants, you had one shipment of toys is stolen. Okay. You have identified, let's say 30 different merchants selling those toys together. You found them all on Amazon. You're suing them all individually. What can happen here is that when you're suing them, since all 30 of these toy manufacturers came from the same stolen shipment, you can sue them under a joint and several liability, which means that each one of these court cases becomes intrinsically connected by joint and severability. So it's very possible that Feldman might actually have to pay the attorney's cases for all of the cases. Now, it doesn't say that specifically, and the way this is worded is unclear, but that is definitely interesting. So way to go, AI. Y'all just screwed with somebody stealing a bunch of toys from a toy company. And I was originally thinking, well, how can the plaintiff be held liable for this? Well, there's actually laws about that, which I was unaware of. But if you are an attorney and you do something grossly negligent, your client loses the case. And you got to eat it all. Now, it's very possible that the client might be able to sue the lawyer for gross negligence. That's a possibility, but that's a completely different case for a completely different day for a completely different judge. As far as Flycatchers is concerned, hey, we have a win. We won against this particular guy, and all of our legal fees are paid. So that's wonderful. All right. Now we got a couple of Uber stories. Well, Uber is finally going to ban violent felonies from being drivers. Oh, and people convicted of child abuse. So did you guys know that up until now, Uber allowed people convicted of violent felonies and child abuse to be drivers? Did you guys know that? Well, most people didn't. So there was a New York Times expose that that exposed the fact that at least in 22 different states, Uber still, after doing their background checks, still let people be drivers if they have been convicted of violent crimes. The only ones they did not allow to be drivers is if you did a murder, I think an S assault, or a kidnapping. If you did one of those three, you were out. But anybody else, if it was old enough, nah, we don't care. Oh, you assaulted a child 7 years ago? You can drive. Why not? You assaulted somebody violently? You can drive a car. Just don't do that again, you know? And so they have now decided that they're going to ban anybody who has had any violent felonies, any S offenses, or any child or elder abuse. They're going to ban those now from being Uber drivers. So you can now be safer, I guess. Last year all I've seen is people beginning to do this, and I thought that would obviously be required the whole time. Yeah. So nice to know they've always prevented murderers and rapists from being drivers, but stalkers, child abusers, and assault convicts, they were fine. So this guy here, Corey Quinn, I, apparently a naive idiot, had assumed this is what background check our drivers has always meant. We did a background check. We just didn't care. We needed to have a presence in the city. Money, man. You got assaulted on your ride home? Let's take it up with someone else. We don't care. We got our money. You know? You're telling me you weren't doing this already? How have you not been sued into oblivion? You mean Uber wasn't doing this? This is concerning. Yeah, better late than never. All right. And also stick on with Uber. Apparently, Uber engineers built an AI version of their boss. Yeah. So the idea here is that if you're going to go in and have a meeting with I'm going to say Dara, and I cannot pronounce his last name. So CEO Dara. So they said if they had to go in and have a meeting with him, they would prepare it by running it off of an AI version of him first. So they would basically run their whole meeting through an AI version of their boss. And then that would do that. Now, of course, maybe we should just have a trend of we're talking about cutting costs for companies, right? Let me get radical here for a second. We're talking about cutting costs from companies, right? That's our goal, cut costs for companies. I have a brilliant idea. Let's have the AI replace the CEO and the whole C-suite, and we'll keep the day laborers on. We can fire only 5 people and save the company $5 billion. And they can still make all the money. And then the low-level workers, just give them all a bump in $1. You now only save like $4.9 million. Everybody gets a livable wage, and the CEO can find something else to do because he loved AI so much. Let's just let the AI replace him. That sounds like a great idea. This is the new trend. Let's have these C-suites. I mean, these are the guys pulling out too much money out of the company. You want to talk about your bottom line, man. This CEO making $5 million, one guy making $5 million a year, and AI can replace him for $30 a month. Replace them. The day laborers, don't lay them off. They're the ones actually doing the work. Come on. But anyway, they did say one of my team members told me that some teams have built Dara AI. You know, they basically make the presentation to Dara AI as a prep for a presentation to me. So I don't know what's more terrifying, the fact they made an AI of their boss, or it works, or he's happy about it. I don't know. But I think I'm onto something here. Let me know if you guys think I'm onto something here where corporate Americans can save billions just by laying off the CEOs instead of the guys actually doing the work and just replacing with an AI bot. I think that'd be great. So let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments down below.